Okay, so as promised, this is the video where we're gonna talk about the fib and we're gonna focus mostly on how to get the entries after understanding the market structure. So looking at gold from the previous video, we're looking at this 5-minute order block here. And as you guys can see, it played out perfectly. We did have a consolidation here because Trump was speaking on that day. But yeah, so we did have the consolidation and then we pushed nicely to those external highs. And then what we have after our break of structure, now we're gonna, okay, yeah, let's get into the fib. So we said when we're in a high, in an uptrend, what we wanna see is price respect the lows and take out the highs, right? So once you see something like this, you know we have a break of structure, price is telling you that we're gonna go higher. So all you're gonna do is then start waiting for a pullback. You're gonna first start waiting for a pullback because you're gonna be looking at the 4-hour time frame here most of the time. And then you're gonna have your fib from the most recent low to the high that we left there. Now on your fib settings, these are the fib settings. We're gonna have levels. So we're gonna have the 0.75 and then we're gonna have the 0.79. So the person I learned this from, which is Ara Trades here on YouTube, he uses the 0.71. I still have that marked out there just to keep an eye on it. I don't really take my entries from that, but I use the 0.75 and the 0.79 and a fair value gap. So when I wanna know that it's a high probability trade, there has to be a fair value gap, either aligning with this fib or somewhere here. We'll get into some live examples. So another thing that's important when you're looking for entries is you don't want to see an impulsive move coming straight down here. What you want to see is price showing weakness. So we do have our move lower, and then this is the type of price action you want to see. And then obviously it's going to come into that and then start pushing higher. We could get a consolidation, or it could tap into here a couple of times, maybe spend a couple of hours in here before actually displacing, and that does not make the trade any less probability. It's still gonna be a good setup as long as you have your most recent low before we broke structure and your fib aligns with the fair value gap. It's still gonna be a good setup. So same thing when we're looking at a bearish trend, you're gonna look for a break of structure to the downside. And then obviously what we said, after having a break of structure, you're gonna expect price to come back higher into a point of interest that's in the premium, right? So you're gonna take your fib, you're gonna take it from that low, from the high to the low. We have our 0.75 right there. You're gonna take your entry right there, have your TP at the low, and then have your stop loss right there. That's it. So we're gonna get into some live examples and also show you some trades that I'm in right now. That's what you're gonna look for. So let's get into some examples, but let's start with this gold one. So after breaking structure here, when we're coming for these external highs, we did leave this low here. This is the most recent low before we broke structure. You don't take the whole move. You don't take the whole move from the swing low to that swing high. You take the most recent low. So this is the last low it made before it broke structure here. You take from there to the high. So this is the setup I had on my trading view here, but on the MT5, I took it from this low here. I don't know what was going on. But yeah, I wasn't on the laptop, tried to set my buy limit. I had it at the wrong place. But yeah, we still consolidated a bit here and then started pushing higher. So these are the highs here I'm looking at. I let it go though, so here I'm just keeping an eye on it to see if it actually plays out well. Because it can still be moving like this. Right now it looks like it's playing out well, but it could still reverse and come to the stop loss. It's not a very high win rate strategy, but if you manage your risk properly, you will be profitable with it. And then let's get into the trades that I took for this week. So I have, you notice here, if you look here on the top right, I have a checklist which helps me identify higher probability entries. So if you have the first thing you're gonna look for is a clear higher time frame trend. The same way we spoke on the previous video, the higher time frame needs to be clear that okay, we're in an uptrend or we're in a downtrend. If it's not very clear, you go to the next one, and then you're gonna wait and see if do you have a break of structure or a change of character. If you have a break of structure, you're looking for continuation, and if you have a change of character, you're looking for trades to the opposite direction. Like for example, with this one, we've been making lower lows and lower highs, moving in a downtrend, right? And then we took this high here. That's a change of character. And then I have my fib here. We have this fair value gap here. We have this low. So I'm looking at that. We also have this fair value gap down here. So I could get a bit of drawdown into this, but I took calculated risks here. So I'm not stressing about it. It just came back to my entry. And this doesn't make it any low probability. Like I said, it can come in here many times, push high again until here, come back, and yet it still respects it. So you just need to be a bit more patient with this one. And then after finding your break of structure or change of character, like I said, you then take your fib. I didn't switch on the settings here, but you guys already know by now that we use the 0.75 and the 0.79. And then there needs to be a 2-hour fair value gap around, or of 4-hour fair value gap is also valid. And then only then will you have your entry. If there is no fair value gap, it could still respect it, but it's not as high probability as it would be if it had a fair value gap. So let's get into the trades. We have, like I said, we're moving in a downtrend, creating lower lows, lower highs, and then we took out that high there, making this a change of character. So obviously now I'm gonna start looking for buyers because we're in a downtrend. We changed character here. This is telling me that we're gonna start pushing higher. So I take my fib, and then we have the 0.75. I take my entry right there. So we came back to the entry right now, but I'm still gonna keep holding it. I have my stop loss TP set and forget. And then let's go to the next one. We have Euro GBP. So as you can see here, we did move lower for the past 2 weeks. This was 2 weeks ago. And then last week, we took this low, created a change of character. This one I had it on my Instagram. I didn't make a video about it. But yeah, we are in a discount, as you can see. We're making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. We took that high, and then we came back into a discount. We have an order block right here. After taking that high, we pull back. That's the order block there. And inside that order block, we did have a bit of a consolidation and then a manipulation here. distributed higher, creating a change of character. That's confirmation that we're actually gonna change flip bias. So after that, you have your fib. It aligns with the fair value gap right there. So like I said, wait, did I say this? So with your fib, if the fair value gap is inside these two lines here, the 0.75 and the 0.79, usually I just take the trade in the fair value gap because that's where you get the sniper. And then if the fib is bigger than these two lines here, like in this case, the fib is bigger, I take the entry on the fib. So as you can see, we did have a sniper there, and then we did push higher, coming for those highs. We broke structure again, so I took buys here. I took buys right there, we pulled back, and it does align with the fair value gap. So what I'm expecting to see is these highs here get taken out. Another thing that could make this trade high probability is that after creating this break of structure here, we consolidated a bit here, creating liquidity, and then so this is like our accumulation, and then we have the manipulation, and then we want to see it distribute higher. So that's like an AMD type of model that just formed there. So I'm just waiting on those to play out. So with this one, I didn't place my buy limits here because I'm not fully confident about the setup here. But what I can see is that we're trading in a downtrend here, creating lower highs, lower lows, like all the way down. We took this low here, and then we did reprice higher. So after taking liquidity, most of the time we should expect a pullback, and then probably a continuation. So for me to expect higher prices here, even if we are in a discount, because like we are in a discount kind of here, because we did break structure to the upside, we could say that's an order block. But I would want to see a bit more structure to confirm that. But I will be keeping an eye on this because we did have a break, and then we have a fair value gap here that aligns with this. So I will still keep my eye on this, but I didn't set any buy limits here. And then this is one of the ones I was backtesting. So we did have a break of structure to the upside, created liquidity here. So this is a good setup. And we also have stacked highs here. So that's a good place to also target. And it played out well, the setup. See, here we didn't have any fair value gaps, yet it still played out. So sometimes you will have that as long as you have other confluences like the liquidity. We have nice liquidity and we also have nice structure, then it will still respect. So these are the only type of times where I will take the setup even though it doesn't have a fair value gap. Going on to the next one, I took this one today. So from this previous trade here, we have a break of structure to the upside. So that's a clear sign that we're gonna be bullish. And then after creating that, we did have a pullback. The fib aligns with a fair value gap here. 0.75 right there, you take your entry there. See how we came back into that 3 times, yet it's still respected. So even if it comes back and chops around your entry here, that doesn't mean you are in the wrong trade. It could still respect that. And then we did push higher, coming for that high. So I'm expecting continuation higher because we did break structure there. So we have this most recent low, and then we have the high here. So why didn't I take these lows here? Because this is liquidity, that's low resistance, as you can see here. So when you look at that, we're most likely gonna take that, especially also looking at how we started pulling back here. See that large candle? So that's liquidity. We have a fair value gap here. The fib aligns with that. And then we have a 2 hour fair value gap here. So with this one, it almost left me behind. I took it with this one around the 0.71 entry. So yeah, I still calculated my risk properly there. So I'm not risking any more, like more than I would have risked if I took my entry here. So we'll see how it plays out as the week unfolds. So far, it's not doing too bad. And then we have CAT JPY. Okay, so looking at CAT JPY, we did have a couple of breaker structures to the downside, creating lower highs, lower lows. But what I am looking at is that we have liquidity here. That's the reason why, even though we have a breaker structure here, I saw a lot of people took this actually. A lot of people took this and got an entry here. But the reason why I didn't take this is because of the liquidity above here. I don't trust setups like this. So once we broke structure here, I just put my fib here to see if I can get maybe an entry also coming for these highs here. I'm using those highs there as a confluence. It doesn't have to come for them though. It's not like Nasdaq where it has to go for liquidity and it will never displace without taking liquidity. Currencies can. So there is a fair value gap here, but it's really small. So this is not like a high probability trade. We also have temporary low there. This is not a high probability trade, but I will keep an eye on it also. Looking here, we also broke there. Let's see if it respected. You see that we broke structure here, 0.75, stop loss at this low here, and then you take your entry there, target that. So we'll see. I'm taking this as a break of structure. So we'll see if this also plays out. And another thing that I didn't mention, if it does continue buying, obviously it's invalid. You just have to keep adjusting this thing, which is why I prefer just waiting for the pullback instead of just predicting the top. So those are the trades I'll be looking at as this week unfolds. That way, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys understand what I was trying to show you guys here.